All right. Hello, hello. Hey out there. Hi, everybody. Aaron from Solace here, back with you for yet another Solace Office Hours, episode 54. It is November 25th, 2025, unless you're in Australia, in which case it's tomorrow already. Today, we have a pretty cool topic that we're going to be talking about, MCP servers for Solace specifically. And to help me present that, I'm joined by my two very good colleagues, Jamieson and Michael. Say hello.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, guys. How you doing? Where are you joining us from, by the way?
Michael, you want to go?
Sure. Yeah. So I'm from Ottawa here, right by headquarters.
Yeah, and I'm based out of Chicago, so just a little bit below you guys.
All right, I'm in Toronto. No more Singapore living for me. Most people who watch the stream know that I've been in Singapore for the longest time. So coming at you so we're all North America. If you're out there listening, we are live on LinkedIn, live on YouTube, and on the Solace community. Put yourself in the chat. Say where you're joining us from, and say hello. Do you guys want to introduce yourselves to the people out there? Who are you? What do you do?
Sure, yeah. So I'm Michael, and I'm a senior architect here at Solace, and also a product owner for part of our broker. And I've been with Solace about 7 years or so, and am excited to be talking about MCPs today.
Excellent. And I'm Jamieson. I'm a developer advocate with Solace. I've been with Solace about 4 years, but I was a solution architect before this. And today we're going to dive into what MCP servers Solace has to offer, and we're bringing to market and explore those a bit more.
Not all of the MCP servers. We're talking just about a couple of them, right? So,
correct. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I see a cat now. There's the cat. So Jamieson is our most recent developer advocate, and kind of when I left the developer advocate team and joined the sales engineering team. So we didn't quite fully switch because I'm not on TK's team, but we kind of swap positions there. So cool. Anyway, if you're out there and you can hear us, we are live. We are here to show you some stuff, to take your questions. Say hello. Got a couple people. Namaste from Ottawa. Good morning. Asia misses you. Hey, Running Roach. How you doing? Thanks for tuning in. Good evening to you. Based in Hong Kong, I know. Jamieson, big thanks to all you do for the Solace community. Your answers are still their own. Oh, there you go. Shout out already. Thank you. Yeah, thanks for that. Awesome. All right. So what are we going to be talking about today? MCP servers. Do you want to give a little intro there, Jamieson?
Yeah, sounds good. So we're going to talk about a couple of MCP servers today. For those of you that are not familiar with MCP, this is a standard released by Anthropic, the company behind Claude. And it stands for Model Context Protocol, and it's a method for AI models or large language models to interact with existing applications. So this could be things that you're already using on a daily basis, like Canva, Event Portal, could be other AIs. And it provides just a standard way of reaching out and using different functionality from those other services by the LLM. So we're going to look at a couple of MCP servers that Solace is putting out today to make interacting with tools like the Event Portal or Solace Try Me CLI a part of your AI-assisted workflow.
All right. So the LLMs figure out the large language model, obviously, and the MCP servers kind of act as the interface to these different systems, right? Either through a REST API or through like a database lookup API interaction. That's how MCP servers work in general, right?
Yeah. I think a good way to think about it is, an API is a way for your application to interact with another application. MCP server is a way for your AI model to interact with another application.
All right, that's a good summary. Tamimi saying hello from Vancouver. Good morning, early morning to you. Thanks for joining. And Romain from France. Salut, merci. Thanks for joining. And all right, so people out there keen on this topic. Let's shall we get into it? Shall we share your screen there, Jamieson?
Definitely. Let me just throw that up.
Okay, there we go.
All right.
Yep, can see it.
So Opening up here, this is just a model context protocol web page. This is where Anthropic released this spec, and there's a bunch of interesting stuff here if you want to read more or learn more about what MCP actually is. Today, we're going to take a look at 2 MCP servers from Solace. The first one is the Event Portal Designer MCP server. So I've gone over here to Solace Labs, the Solace Platform MCP repo on GitHub. And inside of here, you'll find the Event Portal Designer MCP. Most MCP's servers that you come across will be Python applications, so they're really easy to get started with. You can either install them with pip, or you can use UV to actually just run the MCP server. By UV will pull it directly down from the package manager and run it. The other one here is the Solace Try Me CLI. This is a prototype for an MCP server for the Solace Try Me CLI. And you can go on, pull this and actually run it locally. This is written in Node, but it's essentially the same process. Your MCP client, which is whatever AI coding assistant you're using, will just invoke this MCP server, spinning it up and leveraging it. You can also use MCP servers that are hosted on the web. So services, SaaS services, things like Tavili or whatever SaaS service you use may host an MCP server that you can reach out to across the web and leverage that way. So it's not running locally on your machine.
All right. I will share those links, and I will update the video descriptions afterwards with these links, so people seeing this on YouTube later will be able to pull those down. The event portal, I'm assuming most people who know Solace know about the event portal. It's where you go to design, document, discover your event-driven architectures. We now have configuration management as well, so you can actually push things to the broker. So it's our SaaS. It's via Solace Cloud, and you can log in here. But now we have an MCP that you can interact with it. Yeah.
Yeah. And we'll dive more into what using this MCP server actually looks like as we go through the office hours here. But just wanted to lay out that those are the 2 that we're going to look at. If you have any questions about MCP in general, definitely let us know in the chat. We could dive more into those details, but it's a huge topic to cover. So we don't really want to, cover all those individual pieces. Instead, we'll sort of show you how these MCP servers work, so you can start to get an idea of how they might fit into your workflow.
We do have 2 big experts here on the Solace, the AI side here. So yeah, if you do have questions, not specifically about this, AI in general, or how Solace can help with that, please, any questions, put in the chat, and we'll try to answer you there.
Definitely.
So I think it's natural to get started inside of Event Portal here. We'll take a look at the. So I'm essentially playing the role of a developer today who's been tasked with making improvements to our airport terminal announcements system. Inside of Event Portal here, this is an existing application domain with an existing architecture already built inside of here. So I can go through Event Portal and I can browse this via the GUI, take a look at the list of objects that are in here, you move these things around, make changes in Event Portal. But as a developer, as an architect, typically I'm not prone to going and working on the web like this. I'm working in a terminal or my IDE. And I'd like to be able to find out information about the architecture that I'm working on without having to switch over to the web, change my brain from thinking about how these services are interacting on the back end to thinking graphically or something like that.
Wait, so you're saying developers are using terminals and architects are not? Is that the delineation you're making there, Jamieson?
Not necessarily, but there are certainly subsets of people that are more visual thinkers and those that aren't. And we want to be able to ensure that you can access this information in whatever way you prefer. So I won't tell you if you're an architect, you can't use the terminal, but
I personally use one all the time.
There you go. There you go. Hello from Ball Ground, Georgia. Good to be here with you, rock stars. Yeah, got a couple questions already coming up, but Jamieson, you keep going with your designer stuff there. I'll throw them up when we have a pause.
Sounds good. So throughout this process, we're going to use 2 different things. We're going to use primarily Claude code in the terminal. I think that a lot of developers are gravitating towards these terminal-based AI coding assistant tools. and it's a relatively robust one that we can just start using here. The other thing that we'll show is Claude Desktop. This is going to be analogous for things like ChatGPT Desktop or, any, AI applications that are running maybe more as an enclosed application that you're just going to chat with, maybe not use to interact with your code base or something like that. And the first thing that we're going to take a look at is the Event Portal MCP server. I'm actually running this in Claude Desktop here. So I have a project called Office Hours. Inside of here, I have the Event Portal MCP server set up, and I have the tools enabled. So there are a bunch of different tools that come with this MCP server. So let's say that I'm like a product owner or maybe somebody working in support, and I need to understand what's going on inside of the architecture, but I don't really understand what all those lines mean, or I don't want to dive too deep into a different interface that I'm not familiar with. I'm used to talking to people all day. I have questions from people in plain English. I can use those to query Event Portal and our event-driven architectures with this MCP server. So I can say things like, what application domains exist in Event Portal? And I'll get information back about what's happening inside of my Event Portal as a whole, but really what information I have access to as a user inside of Event Portal. We have to allow this tool here. So this is going to get application domains from my Event Portal account.
These application domains are kind of the big segregation within the Event Portal. We kind of partition things up by, HR, finance, ops, maybe would be kind of, and then you have multiple applications running within a domain there.
Like that, it even inferred your test domain there. It's like, it's probably just for experimentation.
Exactly. This is just one that I created with this MCP server just to show, hey, you can actually go through and create stuff inside of Event Portal as well. But some of these are real architectures, like the announcement architecture that we're going to work with today, or the credit card fraud check architecture that you've probably seen in some other Solace demos. We could dive in even further here and chat with this about the architecture, like anything you guys want to know that you could think like, hey, if I was a product owner, I might want to ask like, what applications do we support or something like that. We can throw it in here.
So we're literally just talking to your Event Portal architecture right now. That's, yeah. Well,
yeah.
How many apps are in that domain? Yeah. So you don't even have to call it like Acme, or you don't have to be specific. You just say the airport domain. And
so because there's so few application domains, I can be really cavalier about what I'm asking and it will infer. But if there were a bunch of airport domains in here, it might say, sense. Hey, I don't really know which one you're referring to. Can you be more specific?
Right.
And I find Claude in particular is really good at inferring what you mean when you kind of give it just enough information. So you don't have to go overboard with prompt engineering like you used to.
And that'll probably be like from the outset, or like, does it build on your kind of interactions, right? So if your last question was about that, it kind of like, it knows that you're kind of going down this path. Like I'm talking about this particular thing.
I find a little bit of both. You have to give it enough to start from, but it's like if you were talking to a junior developer or something like that, who was going to go off and grab this information for you, they'd know what you meant by the airport domain.
Right.
Yeah. And inside of a chat window like this, or inside of a Claude Code session, the models have gotten really good. The context window is quite large. So it will remember things like, hey, the ID for this application that you're talking about was X, Y, and Z. So it doesn't have to go through the whole process and query, down the chain again. But these things will depend on what AI assistant you're using, what model underpins that. If you're running a model locally, your context window may be a lot smaller. So it may take a bit more coaxing or more formally crafted prompts to get to some of this stuff. It really depends on the environment that you're working in. Really what the MCP server is doing here is exposing the tools. It's up to the AI model and the MCP client, which is, the model inside of this wrapper of the Claude desktop, to decide how it's going to use those tools. So your experience will vary depending on what you're using.
Cool.
Yeah. So this is an interface that I think, people who are slightly less technical or don't want to get into the code may use to interact with the architecture. And I think from here, we're going to flip over to using Claude Code because we're going to interact with some applications today. We're going to generate some code. And that interface is a little bit more familiar to me and probably to a lot of developers. But as you can see here, there were 6 applications inside of this terminal announcements domain. If we go back to the web interface here, you can see we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 applications.
Counted correctly. Yeah. To me,
cool.
Oh, we got a quick question or comment, I guess. So, is the MCP server has access to all the public Solace EP API? So, is this MCP built with the entire Event Portal API?
So I think I can answer that. We're focusing mainly on Designer right now because we think that that's where most of these use cases come from, where somebody might want to understand the design that's out there. They might want to iterate on the design, or they might want to implement a new version of an application, for example. We decided that we're going to leave runtime for now and see how we can understand that space a little bit better, because people right now are very cautious about using AI to actually impact like production workloads, right?
Sure.
So kind of we're starting with the like meeting developers where they're at and really unblocking those use cases first.
Good answer. Thanks.
And the access is governed, you generate a token from Solace Cloud the same way you would if you were going to use Postman to interact with these APIs. So your permissions are governed by what your user can do inside of Event Portal and what permissions you give to that token.
Exactly.
So for now, is it read only? I mean, because it's just we're looking at Designer, or can you actually add new applications?
So it's read and write in Designer.
Okay. Okay. Cool.
So you can add new applications, you can add new events, you can hook events up to different applications as well.
If the EP token you've made supports like
exactly, yeah. So if you don't want it to do that, you can go and just unselect all of the write boxes when you're creating your token, and it'll only get whatever the token access is.
Right. Carol from the Netherlands. Good afternoon. Hello. Late to the party. Never. That's good. Thanks for joining. All right.
Yeah, and
also Tamimi and Gaurav are having a nice little side chat over here about streaming HTTP servers. So yeah, Tamimi, another one of our developer advocates, heavily steeped in the agent mesh and the AI stuff. So thanks for helping them out back there. Cool. Back to you, Jamieson.
Yeah, I was just going to say, so here while you were talking, I asked Claude Desktop to create an office hours application domain in Event Portal. It asked permission to actually use that create tool. And if we go back into Event Portal here, we can see this office hours was just created. You can see it was created by me because it's using a token for my user, and it was created just now, and it'll be empty. Nothing inside of there because I haven't asked it to put anything. So you can write to Event Portal as well. And of course, this is governed by the permissions on the application domains and your access as well.
Cool.
So I launched Claude Code here while we were waiting. And I've already set up my MCP servers on this particular project in Claude Code. You could do this globally or just in the individual project. And you can see the Event Portal Designer MCP and the Solace Try Me, which we'll get to in a little bit. If I drill in on one of these, we can see it's connected. You can see the actual command that was used to start this. So like I mentioned, UV for a lot of these Python MCP servers, and for the STM, the Solace Try Me MCP server, we're using Node. We can see what tools exist. This is the same as that little box that popped up in Claude Desktop. And we could drill in here and see, okay, well, what are these tools? What parameters are they potentially looking for? The fortunate thing here is we really don't have to bother ourselves with this implementation detail. Claude's going to figure it out on the back end as we ask it questions or prompt it to do stuff with natural language.
So we could run in the chat.
Yeah. Around tokens and stuff. I was just going to pop that up there. So yeah.
So no, it's not. So when you spin up one of these MCP servers, you only give the token to the MCP server itself. That token is not accessible at all by your LLM. And it's also not shared outside of the Python process that's running the MCP server. So it should be completely secure to use this. It should be no different than if you were to generate a token and use it to make curl commands.
Yeah. And especially when you're running these things locally, you can use all of the same approaches that you would to secure a token. If you're using curl or whatever, you can store it as an environment variable in your session. You could write it to your startup file, so it's always available when you start a terminal session, or you could just paste it directly into the MCP file, which is probably the least secure if you're letting Claude Code read that file separate from the MCP server. It's going to be able to read what's in that file. So there are a number of ways that you can protect your token and your information using these MCP servers.
Cool. Good to know. Thanks, guys.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to run a very similar prompt that we ran in Claude Desktop. We're essentially just establishing some context here for Claude Code so that it's going to reach out to the event portal and get the applications and events from the terminal announcement domain. Here, we're also prompted if we want to actually allow the use of a tool. And we have two real options here. One is to say, yes, you can use the tool this time, or yes, you can use the tool and don't bother asking me in the future. I'm going to just allow it this once so that we can continue to talk about the invocations here as we go. But if you're using this over and over throughout your day and you're comfortable with Claude reaching out to that service, you may want to just allow it to continue to invoke that designer get application domains command or what have you.
So even
another thing.
So if it's asking like 5 different things, like you're gonna get prompted every. Okay, yeah, you're getting prompted every single time here.
So here we could probably hit yes and don't ask again just for this particular one. So we can allow it now to grab every single application domain that it wants. Because what it'll probably do is get a list of them and then try to get individual ones. Now we can see it's asking for applications, and now it's trying to get events, right? So if you think about like the key things that you might care about, if you were trying to understand this as a person, you would go and load up Event Portal. You get that landing page with all of the different application domains.
Yep,
you would go drill into one of those, see the list of events,
get the
see
apps,
the list of
get the
applications.
events. Yep, maybe some schemas. Yep,
maybe some schemas when you want to dig in to particular events.
Yep.
And Claude infers, or it understands the relationship between these objects eventually. So it'll try to use some tools and say, okay, well, he asked about applications, so let me use an application tool. And then it'll be like, oh, wait, I don't know which domain to get the apps for. So I got to change the order in which I'm using those tools. And it'll sort of figure these things out based on what tools are available to it. You can absolutely do things as well, like include in your Claude MD file or in your prompt instructions like, hey, if you don't understand something, ask me. If you get stuck or you feel like the tool isn't available, ask me. And that way, even if you're letting it sort of run wild with these MCP tools, if any issues come up, it will stop and say, hey, I ran into this issue. What would you like me to do about it? Or like Gara pointed out, you could just start Claude with dangerously skip permissions, and then it does whatever it wants and deletes your home directory.
That could be a bit scary. A question, a comment, and a question here. MCP from an architectural perspective, it's like a mini integration platform. It's like an abstraction layer, abstracting sources, config, and a few other things from the AI LLM. Is that? Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think so. And I think maybe this is a good time to talk about how MCP servers sort of come to be. It's almost, if a service has a REST API, a lot of MCP servers will essentially be a wrapper on that API. Right. What it really is doing is saying, hey, here is a REST call that you might make to get information. It can take parameters X, Y, and Z, and then describing in plain text what those parameters are. And this allows the LLM to say, hey, you've provided me a prompt. I can extract then those parameters from your natural language prompt and apply them in a educated way to that REST API. Because you could do the same thing. You could say, hey, make a curl call out to Event Portal, but you're having to provide a ton of information then about how to make the call, which endpoint, what information needs to be supplied and how. So the MCP server is encapsulating that all in a way that you can take advantage of it without really having to mess around with ensuring you're supplying all that information in the prompt.
Yeah. I'd say, MCPs are kind of like one small part of the larger like AI integration picture as well. So when you think about different integration platforms, I think you're exactly right when you say it's a mini integration platform, because when you start to kind of scale this up and everything, you realize that like MCPs by themselves aren't quite enough. You need like the additional like agent infrastructure and everything on top.
That's right. That's right. Thanks for that. Got a question here from Germany. Jan, my question would be, how is error handling implemented, specifically if the endpoint is not reachable by the MCP server? Given that LLMs often prioritize generating a response, is there a mechanism to prevent them from hallucinating on successful outcome when the action actually failed?
Yeah, so we're very verbose about errors when they come back, and we return those to the LLM saying like, "Hey, this clearly failed. Like, I got this error. Here's an error code."
We being the MCP server that
we
we're talking
being the
about here.
MCP server.
Okay.
Yeah. And so, and when we say things like, "Hey, you got a 403 error" or something like that, right? The LLMs are incredibly good at understanding that means it didn't work. They've been trained on billions of 403 errors. So if you think like every Stack Overflow question that's ever been asked. So yeah, the LLMs are very good at understanding when things succeed and when things fail.
Right. Okay.
And we will likely run into at least one scenario today where something doesn't execute the way that the Claude expected it to. And we'll see that error. And you're right that it will continue to try to make it work or try in a different approach. And you can put bounds on that in your prompt, or like I mentioned before, you can actually give a directive to Claude to say, hey, if something goes wrong, come back to me and ask. Don't just keep trying, or don't just make something up. Because like, absolutely, I think we've all been there in that scenario where like, oh, I gave it the wrong token and it gave me some response back, but it didn't make sense. You ask it more and it's like, oh, well, I actually didn't have access to that service, so I just made this up. So we can build guardrails into there in our session as well, or like our global directives for using the Event Portal MCP server and stuff like that.
Yeah. It's not good if like, so I don't have access to the data, so I'm just going to make up a bunch of stuff and give it to you instead, and not tell you about it. One last question around throttling. You know, we say, go ahead, don't ask me again. What happens if it runs rampant and makes a billion calls in the background? Is any controls around that? Would that be at the MCP side, or
right, so that would probably be at kind of your agentic tool side, so like your Claude or whatnot.
Okay.
And it is the risk that you take when you say accept all. You can tell it to go off and do something, and sometimes it'll go and loop for an hour trying to try a bunch of different commands. So you do want to understand what you're doing when you say yes, accept all. But it is also nice because if you tell your agent to go off and do a more complex task, you might just want to say, yes, go. I know that you're allowed to do all of the read operations, and then you're going to ask me before doing a write operation. So I'm just going to let you go and come back in 10 minutes and see kind of where you got to.
Right. Cool. All right.
And I'm going to push through a couple of more prompts here.
Yeah.
So essentially the scenario that we're going after from here is, I'm a developer. I've been tasked to improve our mobile notification service in this architecture. If we go back to the web UI here, we can see the mobile notification service is this blue application here. But if I didn't want to go into the Event Portal UI, I could just ask here, like, okay, what services use the transcription or translation event? I could ask something like, what events does the mobile notification service consume? These are relatively straightforward questions just to show what information you can get from the Event Portal, but you can ask it very complex things. Like you could ask it to go through all of your events, look at the topics, compare them, and see if we could centralize on a more unified topic structure or something like that. It's That's like cool. A very complicated prompts that require going through a lot of information are pretty good use cases, especially when you're working with a big model or a powerful model like Claude Sonnet here.
Yeah, which model are you using for all this? And that actually segues into a question we have here. How powerful an LLM do we need to have to use this MCP server? Can we use something super lightweight, or I guess mileage may vary? Is that
mileage may vary?
Is the answer? Okay.
And it's pretty much any instance of a large language model, medium language model, whatever, can use these tools. The question is, how much context can it hold?
Right.
And because you could return a lot of information from Event Portal, then you get into this scenario where it's like, okay, can it hold enough information in memory to be useful? And I think that's where your results will vary the most. Like it will be able to make these tool calls regardless of, you could run an 8
basic stuff
model or whatever. Yeah, exactly. So
show me the
we'll
events,
see. This
and
is
it can do that. So, but
exactly.
But
and like Jamieson showed earlier, there was like the list of all of the tools. The other thing you can do on smaller models is go and disable all the tools that you don't want so that you aren't using up additional context.
Yeah. Excellent. Okay, so the transcription and translation events. We have the transcription event, which is published by the transcription service and consumed by the translation service, and then a system update service. I think we'll pay attention to the translation service today. We also have a translation event that's published by the translation service and consumed by the mobile notification service. The mobile notification service is an existing Java application that has already been built. I can go over to my other terminal window here and actually run it. This connects out to my Solace broker. And as you can see, it subscribes to the translation events, which if we go back to Claude Code,
this is like, just for a bit of context, this is actually based on a real customer use case that that you were kind of thinking or working on, right, Jamieson? Like this is at an airport, like there's an announcement and it actually gets translated on the fly.
So what's this event flow that it's telling us about? Can you walk us through that?
Yeah. And I think, Aaron, that's good context that I sort of glossed over there.
Yeah.
If you are at an airport and they make an announcement and you can hear it, that's great. If you're in a different part of the airport, or maybe you speak a different language, you may not understand that they're saying your gate's moving or boarding has been delayed. So this architecture takes that announcement, transcribes it, translates it to your native language or whatever you have programmed as your language preference in the application. And then you get that notification as a text or as a message in your app saying in German or in Spanish, like, hey, the gate has moved to the other side of the airport. Start running. And here you can see the flow that happens. Essentially, that architecture flattened down into a text format here for us to understand. So the Java application that we just started is going to receive these translation events. You can see here they go to the mobile notification service.
So does
go ahead.
Does the mobile notification service receive the transcription event?
It currently does not receive the transcription event, which, probably presents an error or an issue, right?
Mm-hmm. What if we ask Claude if it receives it? I'm just curious what it'll figure out.
Mobile notification service receive transcription.
So the chain is there's an announcement, it gets captured by some audio, then it goes to a transcriber, then it goes to a translator, and then it gets pushed to that's the ideal flow here, right? So that's
correct.
No, it does not.
It does not receive the transcription event. And it says, so we're only receiving the translated announcement, not the raw transcription.
Cool.
And it does make sense for mobile users to maybe just receive it in their preferred language.
I think that the breakdown there, we can ask.
It does agree. It says it makes sense architecturally. What are the limitations? All right, cool. Now we're asking it for help and guidance.
One of the nice things about this too is I can put all the typos I want in there, and Claude's pretty good about figuring out what I actually meant to write. But so I asked, what are the limitations of this architecture? What if my preferred language is the language of the airport? So the translation event isn't helpful to me as that mobile user. And it comes back, if your preferred language is the same as the original announcement, you will not receive that event essentially, because the mobile notification service is only getting the translation events. So if there's no translation necessary, you may not receive
unnecessary. Nice. That's pretty cool.
I definitely find that I can't understand the announcements in English.
And I think that's one of the benefits of this as well. Like if you have your AirPods in, you're talking to somebody, or you're just not paying attention, you're like, hey, was that an announcement? And then it's too late. You already missed it.
Yep.
So I definitely want to be able to receive the announcement in the language that it was made in as well. Like I don't skip over me just because I'm in, an airport in America and the announcement was made in English. So it provides also some options here. And I think this is one of the benefits of interacting with a tool like this. It may provide an option that you didn't think of, like, hey, we can add a level to the topic that gives a language code in there. So then we're just using the transcription topic. There is no translation topic anymore, something like that. But as a developer, I probably want to implement a couple of these and test them out or play around with it. And I don't have access to the transcription service, which makes this a little bit challenging. And this is where I want to bring in the second MCP server that we're going to talk about today, which is the Solace Try Me MCP server. So for those of you that are familiar with Solace Try Me, it is a CLI tool that allows you to interact with your broker. So this could be things like sending or publishing events to the broker, subscribing to topics, even configuration like creating queues, adding users, that sort of thing. There is also a feature of Solace Try Me called feeds, which allows you to take an async API specification document and turn it into a sample publishing application. This is really useful if you want to just spin up a publisher very quickly to test with downstream applications or to load test your queue or something like that. But you don't really want to go through and actually get the real application from another team or spend a lot of time and effort stubbing out or building out an application. So what we can do here,
I will say that there's a whole website full of pre-canned feeds that if you just want to inject when you're first starting out with using Solace, sometimes you just want to like have some data injected into your broker so you can subscribe to it and see that. If you head over to feeds, I'll put up the URL here in a second, feeds.solace.dev. It's a website put together by the team, and you can choose like an aviation demo or a coffee demo or an HR demo. Thanks, Jamieson. Nice one. Yeah. So if you just want to like try to use like a pre-canned, just a quick, test off the shelf, it uses WebSockets from your browser here directly into your broker, and you can inject some data. So that's one option. So, but we're going to do the AI way.
Well, in this case, we don't even have that translation feed, I don't think, right?
No.
Like it's this spec out in Event Portal somewhere. So if we want to try that out, what would it look like?
Yeah, so you could use STM, the CLI tool, to actually go and get, download the JSON file from the web UI, save it somewhere, go and run the command, figure out what that command is. Using the STM MCP server, though, I can just say, hey, create a feed for the translation service application using the async API spec from Event Portal. So this is now using two MCP servers. It's using the Event Portal Designer or Event Portal MCP server to go and figure out what that application is, get the async API spec, pull it down locally so that Claude has access to that. It can save it off to my local directory. Then it's using the Solace Try Me MCP server to actually run a couple of feed commands, preview that feed, generate the feed. And then from there, we can actually interact with that feed, have it publish messages to our broker, interrogate the feed, say like what events are produced, what's the payload of those events, that sort of thing. And this fits pretty naturally in an AI-assisted workflow because now I don't have to change out and try to understand what the tools are in STM, try to remember what the command structure is.
It's quite a few commands.
Through a bunch of screens. Yeah.
So what you're saying here is that, like, me as a developer, I just want events in my broker that are from this translation application that's defined in Event Portal. Because I just want to try something on my notifications, my mobile notifications.
Give me some dummy data just so I can test with.
Yeah. And so I don't have to do anything else. I just say like, hey, make it happen. And Claude will go off and do it.
Absolutely. It'll prompt me about a couple of tools that it wants to use, but it really is just going to go off and on its own figure out, hey, with the tools available to me, how can I do this for you? So in this case, we got that JSON or the async file as JSON. We're going to do a feed generate, which this is the first tool we're using from STM MCP, and it will convert that to a feed. This is a great replacement for, I don't know, when I'm building applications and I need events, sometimes I'll go into the web UI and I'll just publish a bunch of hello worlds from the Try Me tab in there. And like, this is a much more effective alternative. And
I don't have to leave my IDE in this.
Exactly.
Right? I can just stay in my development environment. I don't have to touch anything.
So the feed was created, and now we can preview it. We'll say, yes, you can keep using that tool.
Cool.
Few comments here. As always, doing a live demo, it's always a bit dangerous, but always the most fun. So yes, love doing these things live. And yeah, Tamimi.
Live demos.
Yeah, live demos. You know what they say about doing live demos? Don't do them. That's Ed Cutter there. All right, keep going, Jamieson.
Yeah, as it runs through and actually uses these tools, we can always hit Control-O in Claude Code to see the full output of what was done. So in this case, we're actually seeing like the Solace Try Me CLI was run. It gave us some information about what came out of that. But Claude Code consumes that information and gives us it back to us in a little bit more manageable way, or like what it inferred to be the important part. So this feed includes 3 events: a translation event that's published, a translation failed event that's published, and a transcription event that is consumed. It tells us the topics here. And we've got our Java application running, subscribe to this translation topic. So if we go ahead and do something like, I see I was copying all those things. If we ask it to publish, oh boy, we ask it to publish 5 events from the to my office hours broker.
Yeah.
I'm supplying a config here, which contains my office hour broker config, and I'm asking for 5 translation events. I'm trying to purposely be vague in this in this request to see how it figures out, hey, what is the translation event? Because we made a translation feed that contains a translation event, but I didn't explicitly tell it which feed to use, which event to go after. So it's going to use its previous context, or if it doesn't have that in its context window, it's going to run some commands like the preview STM preview tool to understand what feeds exist, or STM feed list to understand which feeds exist. And here it found it. So we're going to use the STM feed run tool to actually publish this information out to our broker. And if we go back to our Java application, we should see these events start to pour in.
So this guy's subscribing. This is your little Java app here. Yep, listening to those translation events. Yep, cool. Obviously, we could be using...
We got our first error, which there was a question about this earlier.
Yeah.
So if we expand this, we can see what actually happened here. Okay, it tried to send, but we're unauthorized to use that broker. So, you know, something probably went wrong there. Let's see what Claude's trying to do. Oh, it's actually going to look at my config file now. Maybe the password changed, maybe the username changed, something like that. So it's trying to figure this out on its own. I think I know what the problem is.
Did you plan this? Yeah, or
I did not plan this.
Is this a planted error?
But this absolutely does happen. And I think I could prompt it. I could like stop it and say, hey, do this differently. If it really is taking a long time or trying a lot of things and it's not figuring it out, and I know, I'll probably want to stop it and do that. But since it just made one error here, tried again, and then successfully published, I think that's pretty effective. It allows me to continue thinking about what I was previously thinking about without having to go off on this tangent. I'll let Claude or the AI go do that instead. Here we had 5 events.
Do we know what Claude did to...
saying obviously scripted, because wow, that was quick to, go ahead.
Obviously scripted. Yeah. No, when we make mistakes, they're actual mistakes. Do we know what Claude did to fix the issue? Like, can we say, oh, it tried a different password or something, or why does it know why?
So we have to look back and see what actually happened. And here we can see the first time it tried the tool, it used the password default. Which, you know, I'm pretty cavalier with these things, but the password for my broker is not default because it's available on the public internet.
Our security guys will be happy. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, now that I'm putting the password out there, I'm sure I'll get a call in a minute. Then it read the actual configuration file here. And when it ran again, it used my actual password.
That looks more correct. Yeah.
There is also an option to supply the entire config file on the STM feed run tool. One of the things with using the MCP server, using the tools in there, though, it really is up to the model's discretion of how it's going to make these calls. So there are some, like, you can make suggestions. The people who built the MCP server can make suggestions like, hey, this is a required field. But things like the config file won't necessarily be required because you can just use the default one or whatnot. So Claude, in this case, made the decision that it's going to supply all these parameters separately instead of supplying the entire config file. So we end up with a working run command here on the second attempt, and we see these events land in our Java application that's receiving those transcription events, or translation events, rather.
Very cool. Those gates are rather complicated looking airplane gates, eh?
Yeah, so Solace Try Me just does very naive mapping of these fields. So it says like, hey, it's a string, it's a number, whatnot. We do actually have a feature coming soon that uses an AI model to read the async API spec and provide a better mapping. So if the language was English, for the text field, it may supply like a English sentence, like the cat jumps over the dog. It's not perfect, but it is a better equivocation of like what you might actually configure it to. You can also go through and manually configure these fields using Solace Try Me if you would like.
Cool. So this would be updates to the Try Me MCP server, right? That for generating better data there.
So that's actually a change to Solace Try Me directly.
Itself. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
That allows for that AI mapping. But because that tool changed, the MCP server is calling that tool using the MCP server, you inherit the benefits of that tool change. Same thing as like if the underlying implementation at the REST endpoint changed, the MCP server calling that REST endpoint would receive the benefit of that change.
Cool.
Okay, so any questions, comments, Michael, Aaron, anything like that before we just run through a couple more changes here?
I want to know if someone's made an SDK perf MCP server. I'm sure someone inside Solace has tried to do that, but
it's even easier than that. You probably don't even need an MCP. There's many other things that are worth using, like Claude Skills, where you can essentially tell it about a command line tool, and you can say like, oh, here's all the help text for it, and your responsibility is to go use SDK perf, and it'll just kind of figure it out. So it's even easier than that.
Wow.
And
yeah,
I think we got to build that and publish it.
Right. And these things come out so fast. It's like when I started building the Solace Try Me MCP server, half a month later, the skills came out. It was like, oh man, that would probably be a good application for this. But essentially the result is the same because you are exposing a set of external interfaces to your language model. So yeah, like Michael said, we could go ahead and build that, or you could just throw Claude on it in an afternoon and say, hey, build this for me. I would like to use it myself. And you could contribute that back as well. All of these tools are open source. So if you build something that you think is cool, you can open a PR to this MCP repo. We'd review it and see if that's something that would benefit other people and meet our guidelines as well for these tools.
Cool. Quick question or comment here, I guess. If the spec is good, it would put a regex of possible values for each field. I guess the async API, right? So like kind of that would really give the power behind the generation. Yeah. So like if it's a gate ID, this might be the regex format of that particular thing. Yeah, sure. That would certainly make it easier to.
And that would work right now as well without that enhancement. So like if you give an enumeration in Event Portal, we'll pull that in and the Solace Try Me would select one of those values from the enumeration. Sure. You could supply, I'm not exactly sure if the regex is supported right now, but the AI enhance would actually allow that to work as well. So I think that's a good note as well. You can build these things in to your specification if you wanted.
I've been asking for Daryl, who is our product manager for Event Portal, to have as part of the topic specification as regex per level, because as of right now, it's a variable or it's an enum. Those are the two choices. And I'm like, well, sometimes it's more variable than an enum, but it's certainly more restricted than just a free text string, right? Like I'm thinking of
like this is always going to be a 16 character UID.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, or my bus demo, right? It's like a 3-digit numerals dot 6 digits. It's always going to be a certain integer or a float that looks a certain way. So yeah, not only in the payload for a regex, but yeah, I think topics might be useful there. Do we have a link tutorial for the setup of these two MC queries? Yes, I will paste in the links to the GitHub repos that Jamieson has provided me. So
And I think that Jamieson, was there a demo video as well for that?
Yes, I was just gonna. I don't know if I can send this in chat. I'm gonna send this to Aaron, and he can post it in chat.
Sure.
But there is a YouTube video for setting this up with Claude Code. For those of you that are working with Solace Agent Mesh, look out over the next month here while you're eating your Christmas dinner. You can watch the setup video for these MCP servers with Solace Agent Mesh as well. The setup, if you're using a different tool like Gemini CLI or ChatGPT Desktop or Copilot, is going to be very similar. And we can always update or you could create a PR if you set it up with Copilot and you say, hey, here's the commands to add this to Copilot or the configuration, contribute it back to the repo, because you might be using a tool that other people are using that the development team is not. So
cool. Running Roach actually just says, I got a Copilot to write a complete stress test using SDK Perf for my appliance to VMR move with detailed CSV reports. Nice. Yeah. Thanks, Copilot. Just go ahead and do my perf sweeps for me. That's pretty awesome. So, all right, that's it for the comments for now. So,
cool,
Jamieson, I'll get those links posted in there. So,
couple minutes here. So I think I'm going to push through these, but I'll talk to what I'm doing. So here I'm saying, hey, my users are not receiving notifications if the announcement is made in their local language. Why might that be? So what we're doing here, in a sort of a scripted way, is guiding Claude towards the issue, because I know what I want it to do. In a development scenario, you may not know. You just plug in the error that a customer opened a ticket for or whatnot and see what improvements could be made to the architecture. So here, what I'm hoping it'll say is, hey, the translation event goes to the mobile notification service, but the transcription event does not.
And that's exactly what it said there. The mobile notification service is missing a subscription to the transcription events. Cool.
Perfect. So I think the easiest way to fix this is to just create a new version of the mobile notification service that subscribes to the transcription events. Michael, you had mentioned that there's probably better ways to solve this. And we could maybe talk a lot into that.
Yeah, one thing that, so we probably don't have time to get into it today, but one of the best things that I find about using AI as an architect is that it allows me to explore a lot of different options. So here we've kind of gone with the first solution that comes to mind that seems workable, right? And that's usually what we end up doing as engineering organizations, right? We might explore one or two options, but here we could, we probably would shy away from re-architecting this system because it would be kind of a lot of work to do that. What's really nice is that with AI, you can just kind of go off and say, well, what if we just rebuilt it completely this other way around? And it would go like, hey, yeah, I'll help you do all of the annoying event portal calls that you'd have to do to make this happen. I'll automate all of that away for you, so you don't have to worry about that. You can focus on actually deciding on the best solution and investigating that.
Yeah,
so we can see here it's created it.
Yep. We also incremented this version number for the mobile notification service. I probably could have given it more guidance on how to increment that version, that number, but we have now consuming the translation event and the transcription event. We could ask it to update our Java application to the latest version from Event Portal. Once again, we're using multiple tools, skills, features of Claude here. It's going to use the MCP server for Event Portal to pull that information down about the change in architecture. And then it's going to write some Java code. We are definitely going to run up on time here, but we'll then create a feed for that transcription service. And we can see both the events landing in our Java application then.
We can run a few minutes long here. We got so many questions. People are just obviously quite keen to learn about this stuff and see this cool things happening here. So don't sweat yourself there, Jamieson. It's not a hard stop. If people need to drop, they can drop. So
what if we click allow all edits, and then can we look at the diff at the end? Are we in like a GitHub repo and see all the things that changed?
We can do that. And you see here a change to accept edits on. So this is something you can go into at any time, especially if you're coding. This is helpful because now it won't prompt me for every single change. It's just going to run and run and run until it thinks it's done. And sometimes it's done, sometimes it's not done, and we've got to prompt it a little bit more.
Can you control O to expand? We could just kind of like watch as it goes and see what some of the changes are. So it looks like it's adding a new transaction event.
Looks like Java.
Transaction event or transcription event, sorry. Transcription event consumer.
Okay, yeah, we'll do some errors. Processing. Let's see. If we control O, we'll probably put the next one.
The topic.
Here we're importing the new transcription model.
Yep.
Oh,
this is good. We can see that it. So we see that it like understood what the event was. It understood our existing code and understood the change that we're trying to make, and it just kind of went off and did that, right?
Yeah, and
we
it gives
fully
us a
embrace the vibes.
It's very.
This is very close to the run dangerously, or what is it? Grant dangerous permissions.
Well, no, not quite though, because if you think about it, what you could do for this is you could let it run off within its little GitHub repo, make all of these changes, and then you could review them all at the end, right? You don't have to review every single step along the way. You're like, I just want the whole change set like it's a PR. And now you can review it like a pull request and say like, well, I don't like this. I want it to do it this way instead. You can kind of take yourself out of the busy work of like writing that new class, putting all the imports in, putting all this wiring in place, right? That you don't really care about because it's all trivial-ish code, right?
Yeah.
Ish. Exactly. Well, says you.
Well, and
trivia.
You may have it right, the boilerplate here, because really all it's doing right now is subscribing to these topics and extracting the message. And then I may go in and add the heavy duty like business logic.
Business logic, yeah.
But if you think about it, we might already have that business for this particular case. Even we have that business logic in place for the translation events, right? We just have to hook up the transcription event to that same thing that pushes out the notification, right? So if you think about it, like this is the kind of feature that might take a few days for a developer to do, but maybe the AI can do it in like a few minutes, and then with your review and everything, you can be done in like a couple hours instead. It just makes your life so much easier, where you don't have to worry about like every single detail along the way of like, okay, what was the class I have to create to consume a new event? Because we don't care about those details as like developers who are focusing on a bigger picture, right? We're like, I want it to work.
Developers on a deadline.
I feel like
on a deadline too.
Oh, yeah, man. That's amazing. It's amazing what it's what I feel like a dinosaur writing my Java code by hand, like I don't know. I haven't written code in a while actually. So,
so 2014 of you, Aaron.
Yeah, I know.
Maybe
2005 of me. I don't know. Holding a little vibes. Yes, look at this vibe coding here. So it's writing this whole new thing.
Yeah. So we made a bunch of new files. If we go back here to our directory with the Java application, we can package this. Hopefully, we got an error here. So we say,
didn't it try to compile its own code? It's just writing stuff for
compilation failure. So we could say,
we don't even we could ask it to build it.
Package. I probably could just ask it to build it.
it.
I don't even have to tell it how to build it because this stuff is all documented well in the Maven POM file. It's going to ask me to run bash commands. I would recommend probably not just broadly giving permission to run bash commands.
Any bash command.
That would be a bad idea.
Yeah.
Sudo rm.
Nuke rm rf. Whoop.
People do definitely spin up virtual machines, though, clone the repo down there and let it do whatever it wants for a time period. Like let it chew on a project or a challenge for 3 hours and then check what's going on.
That's
if it
interesting.
Nukes the entire project, no problem. And I don't actually totally understand what this is. We've made a change to Unicode here, UTF-8 instead of using asterisks.
URL encoding.
I guess that's
maybe.
Oh, Java interprets the stars as closing the
Oh, //
closing
Yeah.
the comment.
Yeah.
Oh, a comment. Okay.
So it's
That makes sense.
like I don't understand all this code after when you close the comment.
That's funny.
That makes sense, and that would make sense why it doesn't compile. So now it's going to try to compile it again. We should see success here, I think, and we'll be able to spin up this application.
Live demos.
Live demos.
Especially live demos where we're trying to do some development. Okay,
Live demos
so
with
we have a
development
running
are
app
really
here, and we're now subscribing to both the translation and the transcription events.
Well done.
So if we were to go back and run, I can use Option R here to say publish.
For now.
For now. Not
I'm holding on to that.
another 6 months. It'll be yeah.
Exactly.
Claude's definitely smarter than I am at this point. That's for sure.
I think that's the whole point, right? Like if I was smarter and more efficient than Claude, why would I use it? But I'm certainly not more efficient.
Yeah. Us meat bags are quite slow at our analog interaction.
I figure my role has just changed into the manager of Claude. So it's like it's my employee and it's doing all the work.
That's right. Yeah.
Didn't they? That was a line in one of these recent releases, like Gemini 3. I'm now a manager of agents.
Yeah.
Seems valid. Different, for sure. Different than what we used to do, but potentially the way things are evolving here. So I
hope you're
had
benevolent, Michael.
What have we done here now? We asked it to publish translation events.
Right. So we already had the feed, right? We don't have a feed yet for transcription events. So we published 5 translation events, and we see these end up in our Java application.
Those are still there, but we just added the code for transcription, right?
Right. So we need to generate a new feed now.
So okay, we got to generate a new feed and everything too. Okay. So we're just confirming like our existing behavior still works.
Yes, exactly.
Cool.
So then let's try to one-shot this prompt here. Create a feed for the transcription service application with the latest async API from Event Portal and publish 5, what are they? Transcription events to my office hours broker. What was it? Office hours config.json. And let's see here. Sometimes this is challenging for it. Other times it's not. This is one that I've had much more success with more powerful models. Like if I run this with a llama model running locally, it will sort of not figure out how to do all of these steps because it's a lot of, I guess the term would be like executive function to go and string these actions together, especially if errors come up in the middle and so forth.
If you use punctuation or like bullet points, I mean, you don't even have commas in that sentence, but like, would that help it kind of figure out this and then this and then this?
Oh, so I think, yes, that would help if I use something like, and then publish 5 transcription events. That would probably help. The prompting is not as critical as it used to be, but it absolutely does still help when you're giving complex instructions.
I personally love using Claude because you kind of can forget about prompting. Like I did a lot of prompt engineering in 2024, and it was frustrating. So this
trying
is
to
nice
tweak it exactly.
You just kind of tell it what you want, and it just kind of does it. And it's a lot nicer. It is exactly like managing an employee where you could just say like, here's what I want you to go do. You can ask me questions if you need to, but like, you're smart. You go figure it out.
Terminator reference coming out. Living tissue over Mendel skeleton. Yes. Claude is such a nice, it's a non-threatening name, you know? You're not going to name your, I don't know, evil AI Claude.
No, you just name it. Never mind. I'm not going to say that.
That's right. Skynet.
I can't let you do that.
All right. How's it? Okay. So it's doing, so it's got to do about 3 different things here, I guess.
It's correct. And it looks like it successly has done them. It got the async API spec. Well, first of all, it figured out what we were talking about when we said
which app are we? Yep.
Yeah. It got the async spec, saved it off, and then did STM generate. So we actually created the feed. Then we did STM run. So it's connecting to the broker and publishing events. If we Control O to expand this, we'll actually see what that looks like.
Are they the right
inside of STM? If you've used the tool before, you get this big Solace try me block text, ASCII art at the beginning, and then we'll get the actual messages that are publishing out here. Claude summarizes this for us and says, hey, we published 5 events. Here's a sample event payload. And if we change over to our Java app, we will see...
what's a Java? Yeah.
This is the big drum roll moment.
Yeah, exactly.
UI. And here we go, receive transcription event on the topic.
And sent the...
let's see.
And the cool thing that I find about this is that like you didn't have to click around to a bunch of different sources, right? Like you weren't opening up the code in your IDE and then opening up a web browser and copying and pasting specs or any of this stuff. You're just like, I just make it happen. And by having these MCP servers, allowing your Claude code to reach out to these different pieces that you need, you can just make this all happen without leaving your terminal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's really cool.
It's crazy.
I had a scenario in university where I was actually going downtown to meet with some people from Solace, and I had a project due the next day, and I was trying to code on my phone on the train. And talk about an impossible task. I've downloaded some terminal emulator on my phone. I'm connected into my server for the school, and I'm trying to write C on my phone. And
I've done that before. Yeah.
And the project did not get done, but I got a job at Solace eventually. So like, I guess it kind of panned out. But this has totally shifted the possibilities here because now I can connect into a remote execution environment on my phone. Ask it to do something, like even dictate to it what I would like it to work on. It can chew on that. And when I get downtown, I can check again and say, oh, well, here's the new version of my application that I can run and see, run the tests against or run and see if it works. And not only have I not left my terminal, but I did that all with natural language from an environment that is not very hospitable to programming. Mm-hmm. So it takes the clicking around, dragging through Event Portal, exporting specs, going through all these steps. And it really allows me to focus on, hey, what am I trying to accomplish here? Yeah. And really work on getting the best outcome there instead of spending all this effort, typing or poking around, trying to find the spec, trying to find a Jira ticket that's asking for me to do this work and so forth. And I think we'll probably have a session later on where we talk about, hey, how can you string more of these components together to have an end-to-end workflow where it's like, hey, I have a request from support to fix something. Here's the Jira ticket. Here's the write-up on the issue. Let's take that and actually build it into a complete fix that we can go and test. And the MCP servers are a key component, at least for now, a key component in actually accessing that information that resides elsewhere and getting it into the context window for the LLM.
It's really incredible.
The future is now. It's here.
and I just have more fun doing this. I got a little sick of coding after about 10 years of it, and
I love coding. You really?
Yeah.
It can be frustrating though. I give you that. So
I've dealt with too many compiler issues to ever want to code again. So right. This is great because all of kind of the not so fun work of development where you have to deal with package managers and dependencies and all of these things.
Just write JavaScript.
That can just be automated away from you.
Yeah.
You can just let Claude churn on that. So for example, that error that we saw earlier, right? We didn't have to worry about the error. We didn't even tell it what the error was. We just said, hey, run a build. And it just went and it ran the build and it churned out an error when it looked at it and went, I know how to fix that. We didn't have to worry about that at all. It's really incredible.
Very cool.
And I think that this was actually
segmentation fault core dump I see in the chat.
Yeah.
Yeah, never again.
I'm not a C guy. I didn't want to. That was awesome. By the way, I mean, I should have probably mentioned this at the outset, but in 3 weeks, I'm doing a little bit earlier because of Christmas. My office hours are going to be kind of mid-December. It's going to be all about Solace Agent Mesh. We have some announcements coming out for that. So this was kind of the prelude into, getting people thinking about some AI stuff, some MCP stuff. We have multiple MCP servers. What if we had a dozen MCP servers or like 100? How are you going to get them to all talk to each other? How are you going to get them to work efficiently and well? We got some stuff to talk about in a couple weeks, so be sure to come up for that. Jamieson, are we at the end of your demo? Did we successfully complete the full thing?
Yeah, we have successfully updated our mobile notification service to allow for customers to get notifications in their local language and translated languages. So we reached the end of the ticket that we had here. We used our Solace Try Me MCP server and the Event Portal MCP server. Both of these are open source tools that you can go out, follow the links that Aaron posted in chat there, and actually play with now. All you need is the Solace broker that you can start a trial and use, and to generate a token from there and start messing around with, Claude Code, Gemini, whatever you want to interact with Event Portal and to start publishing some test messages out there. If you already have data running on Solace or architectures in Event Portal, you could play around and see how this fits into your existing workflow and how it could help you out.
So awesome. So cool. Awesome. Well, thank you for coming and bringing that, Michael, as well. Thanks for coming along and lending us your AI expertise. Great episode, guys. We ran a little bit long. Sorry, everybody, but I think we had a lot of questions, a lot of interest out there. This was one for the archives for sure. But I'll be back next month, a little bit, 3 weeks, 2-3 weeks, with the our agent mesh announcements. So be sure to come back for that. Gentlemen, any last words before we go?
All good. Thanks for having us on, Aaron.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here. All right. See you later.
Bye.